Right. So today we're we're going to do a deep dive into the Mongols,
Okay.
a nomadic people who
Yeah.
uh, created the largest continuous land empire in history.
Hmm.
It's a pretty
It
it's a
is.
pretty impressive feat when you consider,
Hmm.
they came from,
Yeah.
pretty humble beginnings.
The Eurasian steppe. Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
I mean, it's a
To build an empire that big from being a bunch of nomadic tribes
Mhm.
is is
it
is incredible.
yeah, it's a story that I think begins not so much with like trumpets and fanfare,
Right.
but with the eerie silence of deserted cities.
Uh-huh.
So imagine yourself as this 14th century traveler. You're Ibn Battuta,
Okay.
and you're wandering through these ruins of these cities, Bukhara, Samarkand.
Okay.
These were once vibrant centers of Islamic learning and trade.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're ghostly husks, their grandeur totally shattered.
It's hard to imagine, such thriving cities just reduced to rubble. I mean,
No,
what
okay.
could have caused that kind of widespread destruction? Yeah, that's where the Mongols enter the picture.
Okay,
They emerge from this unforgiving landscape of the Eurasian steppe.
right,
It's vast. It's this expanse of grasslands and deserts. And it instilled in them this resilience and a fierce nomadic lifestyle.
right, right. But unlike other steppe peoples, the Mongols, they weren't initially unified, were they?
Not at all.
Yeah,
They were countless warring clans constantly vying for resources, vying for dominance.
right.
But from this chaotic environment emerged a figure who would change the course of history,
Okay.
Temujin, later to be known as Genghis Khan.
Genghis Khan, the name that evokes both awe and terror.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, his story is often told as one of just unbridled ambition, ruthless conquest.
Sure. And there's truth to that, but I
Yeah.
think there's also this fascinating human element to his story.
Right.
His early life was marked by hardship. I mean, imagine just the trauma of having your mother,
Right.
Ulun, kidnapped by a rival clan. And this event really fueled Temujin's thirst for power, his unyielding desire for revenge.
It seems like a turning point,
Yeah.
like a crucible that just forged his ambition.
It was absolutely a turning point.
Yeah.
And, his youth was just this crash course in the brutal realities of Mongol society.
Wow.
He learned to navigate this world where alliances shifted, like sand dunes,
Yeah.
betrayal as commonplace as the wind.
So he really kind of learned the hard way what it took to survive in that kind of an environment.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's this one account, and it's pretty horrifying, where he's forced to watch
Okay.
70 princes,
Wow.
rivals to his blood brother, Jamuka,
Right.
boiled alive.
Oh my God.
This gruesome display of power.
Oh wow. So talk about, shaping your worldview.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense thing to experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very chilling reminder of, the times he lived in.
Right.
He really understood that power came at a steep price, and he was willing to pay it.
Mhm.
After years of struggle, he finally achieves the impossible. He unites all the Mongol clans.
Yeah.
This happens in 1206 under his banner,
Okay.
and he takes the title Genghis Khan, meaning oceanic ruler,
Okay.
a title that would soon, send ripples of fear and respect throughout the world.
Wow. So he unifies the Mongols.
He does.
But how does he transform them into this seemingly invincible force that toppled empires?
Yeah, Genghis Khan was more than just a warrior.
Okay.
He was also this brilliant organizer and strategist. He
Right.
understood the power of structure and discipline.
Mm-hmm.
He implements this decimal system in his army,
Okay.
organizing his warriors into units of 10, 100, 1,000, and ultimately 10,000. This is called a tumen.
Okay.
This fostered loyalty, efficiency, a level of coordination unheard of amongst nomadic armies.
So I mean, he was really kind of a visionary in terms of military organization.
He was, and beyond that, he also introduced the Yasa, the Great Law.
Right.
This was this set of rules and regulations that went far beyond just military matters.
Right. Right. So he wasn't just focused on conquest.
Yeah.
He was also focused on building a society.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, Yasa was revolutionary. It was designed to end clan feuds, promote unity, establish a code of conduct
Okay.
for this newly unified Mongol nation.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It regulated everything. I mean, everything from marriage and theft to religious tolerance, the treatment of envoys. It was, his vision
Wow.
for this unified and ordered society.
Right. Right. And of course, you need more than laws and organization to conquer empires.
You need skills.
You need skilled warriors.
That's right.
And the Mongols, they were legendary for their horsemanship and archery.
Legendary. I mean, their skills were honed from childhood. They were practically born in the saddle,
Yeah.
masters of maneuver and control. And then you've got these composite bows, masterpieces of engineering. They could fire these arrows with deadly accuracy over these incredible distances.
I mean, just imagine facing a wall of Mongol horsemen,
I know.
arrows raining down on you from seemingly out of nowhere.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
They were a force of nature, like
Yeah.
a whirlwind of speed and precision.
Yeah.
And they understood the power of fear.
Right.
Like they cultivated this reputation for ruthlessness,
Right.
making their name synonymous with desperation.
It makes sense. It's effective,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, take, for example, the Onnut people.
Okay.
These were Jin Dynasty border guards.
Okay.
They were so terrified of this Mongol advance that they welcomed the Mongols as allies.
Oh, wow.
Even guided them through these treacherous mountain paths.
Wow. That's incredible. I mean, that speaks volumes about the psychological impact that they had.
Yeah, absolutely.
But their first major target was China, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what made them turn their attention to such a powerful and established empire?
Yeah. I mean, the Jin Dynasty, right,
Ruling northern China at this time represented a pretty tempting prize.
right, vast territory.
Vast territory,
Wealthy cities.
wealthy cities,
Mhm.
seemingly inexhaustible resources,
Right.
but their emperor made this fatal mistake.
Okay.
He underestimated Genghis Khan.
Right. Didn't he dismiss the Mongols as just a mere handful of sand,
It did.
incapable of shaking the vast sea of his empire?
Dangerous assumption.
Yeah. It sounds like it.
Yeah, when you're dealing with Genghis Khan, it all kind of culminates in this dramatic encounter.
Okay.
You have these Jin envoys, right? They arrive, they're demanding tribute, they're demanding submission from this, newly proclaimed Khan.
Right.
And Genghis Khan, in this, calculated display of defiance,
Oh, okay.
he spits on the ground,
Oh.
turns south towards the Jin emperor,
Wow.
and dismisses him as weak and unworthy of respect.
Wow. That's quite the power move.
It is. It's a declaration of war.
Yeah.
Delivered with theatrical flair. Yeah. So was this kind of the start of open war with the Jin?
This is it. Yeah, in the spring of 1211,
Okay.
after months of meticulous preparation,
Right.
Genghis Khan unleashes his forces on the Jin dynasty, leading 100,000 horsemen across this desolate Gobi Desert.
What a sight that must have been.
I know.
This unstoppable tide of warriors and their horses, this nomadic army transforming into an empire.
The Jin dynasty was unprepared for the Mongols' speed, their ferocity, and just their adaptability. I mean, the Mongols had incorporated these skilled Chinese siege engineers into their ranks,
Okay.
allowed them to breach even the most formidable fortifications.
So even the heavily fortified passes leading into the heart of the Jin Empire couldn't hold them back.
No, they smashed through, they poured into the North China Plain.
Wow.
They attacked with this speed and coordination the Jin armies had never encountered.
Yeah, I mean, the Mongols were known for their terrifying sieges, too.
Right.
So did they employ those tactics against the Jin?
Oh, yeah, they did. I mean, the siege of the Jin capital, Zhongdu, modern-day Beijing,
Okay.
in 1215, this lasted a grueling 8 months.
Oh, wow.
The city finally fell, and the Mongols, enraged by the city's resistance, they unleashed this horrific massacre.
Wow.
Eyewitness accounts paint a very grim picture of this devastation. Palaces reduced to smoldering ruins, the air heavy with the stench of death.
It seems like they were intent on breaking not just the physical defenses
Yeah.
of their enemies, but their spirit as well.
Absolutely, yeah. The psychological impact on the Chinese people was profound. The Mongol name became synonymous with terror and destruction.
Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, the Jin emperor, he flees south. He sues for peace.
Okay.
He's offering this humiliating tribute.
Right.
And the Mongols, they accept it.
Right.
They withdraw, their coffers overflowing with plunder.
But this wasn't the end for the Mongols in China, was it?
Not even close.
Okay.
They had tasted victory, and their appetite for conquest was far from satisfied.
Right.
Genghis Khan, he was a pragmatist.
Right.
He knew that plunder and tribute could only sustain his people for so long.
Aye.
The Mongol economy was, heavily reliant on herding and raiding.
Right. So he was looking for a more stable source of wealth.
Exactly. A way to secure the future for his people.
Okay.
And his gaze shifted westward towards the fabled riches of the Islamic world.
Okay.
Bustling cities, sophisticated crafts, lucrative trade networks.
Right.
He saw an opportunity to tap into this wealth through trade.
Yeah, that sounds like a logical next step.
Yeah.
Did he attempt to establish diplomatic relations with these wealthy kingdoms?
He did. In 1218, he sent a large caravan eastward, laden with luxurious goods, silks, furs, precious metals, intending to open trade with the Khwarezmian Empire,
Yeah.
the most powerful Muslim kingdom in Central Asia.
Okay, so this was like a gesture of goodwill.
Yeah, an attempt to establish mutually beneficial relationships.
What could possibly go wrong?
Right. Caravan full of valuable goods, a chance to connect with new markets.
It seems like a win-win.
Should have been. But fate, or perhaps human greed, had other plans. The caravan arrived at the city of Otrar, a key trading hub on the Silk Road, and the governor there, in Elchuk, saw an opportunity for personal gain.
Oh, so instead of welcoming these merchants exploring the possibilities of trade,
Yeah.
he decides to kind of take matters into his own hand.
Yeah, he does. Blinded by avarice, he accuses the Mongol merchants of being spies, confiscates their goods, and has them executed.
Wow, that's a pretty blatant provocation.
Oh.
Did Genghis Khan let this slide?
Genghis Khan was a man who understood the importance of reputation and respect.
Right.
This wasn't just a theft, it was a direct challenge to his authority.
A violation of the trust he had extended.
So what did he do?
His response was swift and decisive.
Okay.
He demanded reparations from the Khwarezmian Shah, Ala ad-Din Muhammad II,
Okay.
and the surrender of Inalchuq.
So he was essentially giving the Shah a chance to avoid war.
It was an opportunity for the Shah to de-escalate the situation, to punish Inalchuq, and maintain peace.
Okay.
But the Shah, influenced by his advisors and perhaps his own pride, made a fatal error.
Okay.
He refused Genghis Khan's demands,
Okay.
and he even executed the Mongol envoy sent to negotiate.
So at this point, war was inevitable.
Yeah, the die was cast. And
Yeah.
Genghis Khan, known for his meticulous planning and strategic brilliance,
Right.
prepared for a conflict that would redefine the boundaries of his empire.
I mean, knowing his reputation, I'm guessing this wasn't going to be some minor border skirmish.
No,
What was his strategy going into this?
Genghis Khan was a master of psychological warfare.
Mm.
He understood the power of fear, the impact of overwhelming force.
But he also understood the value of strategic leniency.
Okay.
So he offered cities a choice: surrender peacefully and be spared, or resist and face utter annihilation.
So it's kind of a combination of carrot and stick.
Right, designed to break the will of his enemies before a single arrow was fired.
It's a pretty effective strategy.
It was a strategy designed to minimize casualties on his side and incorporate conquered populations into his growing empire.
Okay, that makes sense.
So in 1219, he sets out westward with this massive army, estimated around 200,000 men.
Wow.
They crossed this treacherous Kaiselkum desert, a feat many considered impossible.
Right.
And they emerged, seemingly out of nowhere, at the gates of the wealthy city of Bukhara.
I can only imagine what that must have been like for the citizens of Bukhara.
I know, right? It must have felt like their world was ending.
Yeah.
The defenders of Bukhara, demoralized and outnumbered, they put up kind of a token resistance.
Right.
Genghis Khan, true to his word, spared those who surrendered,
Okay.
integrating them into his army or his workforce. But those who had urged defiance, the city's elite, they met a different fate.
Okay.
Executed, palaces looted.
So it was a calculated display of both mercy and ruthlessness.
It was.
It's meant to send a message.
Exactly. Designed to send a very clear message to other cities considering resistance.
Right, and it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah.
News of Bukhara's fate spread like wildfire.
Okay.
The next target, Samarkand,
Okay.
the jewel of the Khwarezmian Empire, a city renowned for its beauty, its scholars, its strategic location on the Silk Road.
Samarkand was a much larger and more fortified city than Bukhara.
It was.
Did they attempt to resist?
They did. They had witnessed, the Mongols' brutal efficiency,
Right.
but perhaps they believed their city's strong defenses would hold.
Yeah.
They were wrong. Genghis Khan brought his siege engineers, masters of Chinese siegecraft,
Okay.
deployed catapults, battering rams, even undermined the city walls with tunnels.
I've read that the Khwarezmian army actually had war elephants.
They did.
I mean, did these formidable beasts make any difference against the Mongols?
Initially, the Mongols were, unfamiliar with elephants. They were taken aback,
Yeah.
but they quickly adapted.
Right.
They used their superior mobility and archery skills to harass, to outmaneuver these lumbering beasts.
Right.
And the elephants, panicked, confused, often turned on their own troops.
Oh, wow. That's not good. So Samarkand fell. Was its fate any different from Bukhara's?
The pattern repeated itself. City was plundered, resisting soldiers killed,
Right.
but those who surrendered, for the most part, were spared.
Right.
Genghis Khan, even in the heat of conquest, was pragmatist.
Yeah.
He understood that skilled artisans, scholars, even common laborers could be valuable assets.
Right. But what about the Khwarezmian Shah? I mean, surely he wasn't just sitting back and watching his empire crumble.
Right.
Did he attempt to counter the Mongol advance?
He did. He was a skilled warrior, a proud and ambitious ruler,
Okay.
but he was also prone to impulsive decisions, often driven by pride rather than strategic thinking.
Right, right.
So instead of uniting his forces for a decisive battle, he dispersed his armies across his vast territory, hoping to wear down the Mongols through attrition.
That sounds like a risky strategy.
It was, and it backfired spectacularly.
Yeah.
The Mongols, masters of maneuver warfare, adept at using their mobility and intelligence networks, picked off the Khwarezmian armies one by one.
So the Shah was on the run.
Yeah, he was pursued relentlessly by Mongol forces, forced to flee from city to city, his dreams of empire crumbling around him.
Like a classic case of underestimating your opponent, of clinging to outdated tactics
Yeah,
in the face of a revolutionary new way of war.
it's a lesson many rulers throughout history have learned the hard way.
Yeah.
The Shah, driven to desperation, fled to a small island in the Caspian Sea, where he died a broken man in 1221. His once mighty empire, shattered by the Mongol storm, lay in ruins.
So we've witnessed these devastating campaigns in China and Central Asia. I mean, they just dismantled empires with ruthless efficiency.
Yeah.
But even as Genghis Khan was consolidating his vast domain, I mean, he knew his time was finite.
Yeah, by 1227,
Right.
Genghis Khan, despite his, vigorous health, was nearing 70,
Right.
an advanced age for a man who had lived such a tumultuous life.
Of course.
He had unified the Mongol clans, forged this empire that stretched from the Pacific Ocean to the Caspian Sea,
Right.
and rewritten the rules of warfare. But the
But-
question of succession,
Right.
of who would inherit this vast and volatile realm,
Yeah, that's a big question.
it loomed large.
It does.
Yeah,
He had 4 sons,
he did.
each with their own strengths and ambitions. I mean,
Right.
choosing an heir must have been a really difficult decision.
It was.
Was there a clear favorite,
Mm.
or was this just a recipe for conflict?
Genghis Khan, aware of this potential for division and strife, he attempts to avoid a power struggle by dividing his empire amongst his sons. It was a pragmatic approach, rooted in the realities of Mongol culture and the vastness of his domain.
So how did he divide the empire? What factors did he consider?
Well, his eldest son, Jochi, a skilled warrior known for his kind of independent streak, was granted the vast territories in the northwest,
Okay.
stretching from modern-day Kazakhstan to the edges of Eastern Europe.
Okay. So that's a pretty significant chunk of land.
It was a realm of endless steppes and formidable rivers,
Right.
a fitting domain for a man of Jochi's temperament.
And what about his second son?
Chagatai, a stern and uncompromising figure known for his, adherence to the Yasa, he inherited the heartland of Central Asia, including those crucial Silk Road cities,
Right.
Samarkand and Bukhara.
Right, right. So controlling those economic lifelines was vital
It was
to the empire's prosperity.
absolutely.
So the first 2 sons were granted territories on the periphery of the empire.
Yeah.
What about the heartland, the traditional Mongol lands?
Yeah. The third son, Agade, was perhaps the most charismatic and well-liked of the brothers.
Okay.
He possessed this talent for diplomacy, a knack for building consensus.
Okay.
Genghis Khan, recognizing these qualities, chose him as his successor.
Okay.
The great Khan, the ruler of the entire Mongol Empire.
So even though he divided the empire, he maintained a central authority,
Yeah,
a figurehead to hold it all together.
exactly. And to ensure stability and continuity, he entrusted his youngest son, Tului, with the administration of the Mongol heartland and control of the Mongol army.
Okay.
Tului was a brilliant military strategist,
Okay.
a ruthlessly efficient leader,
Okay.
qualities that would be crucial in the years to come.
So it sounds like a well thought out plan. And did it work?
Yeah.
Did his sons maintain this unity and stability that he'd worked so hard to create?
For a time, it did.
Okay.
Genghis Khan died in 1227,
Right.
and Ogedei, as planned, ascended to the title of Great Khan. He continued his father's expansionist policies, pushing the Mongol Empire's boundaries even further.
Oh,
And he had this grand vision for the empire,
ugh,
a vision that included a settled capital.
a settled capital. That seems like a kind of a radical departure for a nomadic people.
It was a bold move.
Yeah,
Genghis Khan had always resisted this idea of a permanent capital,
right.
believing it would, weaken the Mongols' nomadic spirit.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But Ogedei, he saw it differently.
Okay.
He envisioned this grand city, a center of power and culture,
Okay.
a symbol of the Mongol Empire's permanence and legitimacy.
Right, right.
And he ordered the construction of Karakorum,
Oh.
a city built on the site of his father's main camp
Oh, yeah.
in the heart of Mongolia.
So from nomadic encampment to imperial capital.
Yeah.
Quite a transformation.
It was an ambitious project, a
Uh-huh.
fusion of Mongol traditions and influences from, conquered cultures.
So what was Karakorum like?
It boasted palaces, temples, workshops, a bustling marketplace. There was even this magnificent silver tree,
A silver tree.
a marvel of engineering crafted by this captured French silversmith, William Boucher.
Wow. It sounds like a city of wonders.
It really did.
But did this newfound focus on a settled capital, did it diminish the Mongols' appetite for conquest?
Not at all.
Okay.
Ogedei, despite his love of luxury, was a capable military leader.
Yep.
In 1235, he convenes this grand Kurultai,
Yeah.
a gathering of Mongol leaders and generals
Okay.
to discuss the future of the empire.
And at this gathering, I'm guessing a new target for Mongol expansion emerged.
Well, one of Genghis Khan's most trusted generals, Subutai, this brilliant strategist,
Okay.
he proposes this daring westward campaign,
Okay.
a thrust into the heart of Europe.
Europe. I mean, that was uncharted territory for the Mongols.
It was
What did they know about this distant land?
very little.
Okay.
Europe was on the periphery of their world.
Oh.
They'd heard rumors of powerful kingdoms, wealthy cities, this kind of fragmented political landscape. They may have even believed in the legend of Prester John, this mythical Christian king
Right.
who was said to rule a powerful empire in the east.
Yeah, and some Europeans, when they heard about the approaching Mongol armies, they actually thought they might be the forces of Prester John, coming to their aid.
Right. What a surprise they were in for.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. The first clash came in 1223 at the Battle of the Kalka River.
Okay.
A Mongol reconnaissance force led by Subutai and another skilled general, Jebe,
Okay.
encountered a coalition of Russian princes.
Okay.
The Russians, overconfident and eager for glory, underestimated their opponents.
Now, the Mongols, they specialized in feigned retreats, right?
Yes.
And encirclement tactics,
Right.
luring their enemies into these carefully laid traps.
Precisely.
So how did this battle play out?
The Battle of the Kalka River was a massacre.
Wow.
The Mongol victory was decisive,
Okay.
and the surviving Russian princes fled in terror.
So it's just a taste of what was to come.
It was
And when did the main Mongol invasion of Europe begin?
in 1240, a grandson of Genghis Khan, Batu Khan,
Oh, wait.
led a massive army across Eastern Europe.
Okay.
They conquered the principalities of Kievan Russes, they devastated Poland,
Right.
and even pushed deep into Hungary.
These were devastating raids.
They were.
I mean, cities burned, entire populations massacred.
Yeah.
Europe had never experienced anything like it.
Yeah, the psychological impact was profound.
Yeah.
I mean, the word Tartar, a corruption of Tatar, became associated with hellfire and demonic forces.
Wow.
People were terrified by the Mongols' brutality
Right.
and seemingly inhuman savagery.
But then in 1242, at the height of their power,
Right.
the Mongols just abruptly withdrew from Europe.
They did.
Why the sudden retreat? I mean, were they defeated?
No.
Did they encounter a force that could match their own?
No, they were facing logistical challenges,
Yeah.
stretched supply lines. But the main reason for their withdrawal was the death of Ogedei Khan
Oh,
back in Mongolia. Upon receiving news of their leader's passing, the Mongol commanders, they were obligated to return to Mongolia to participate in the election of a new great Khan.
So Europe was given a reprieve,
For the time being, yeah.
but the Mongol invasion left an indelible mark, I mean,
Yeah.
on the European psyche.
Absolutely.
They had never seen anything like it.
It shattered this illusion of Europe's invulnerability. It exposed the weaknesses of its feudal armies,
Right.
and it sowed the seeds of fear and fascination that would last for centuries.
Right.
But back in Mongolia, the death of Ogedei Khan triggered a power struggle
Of course.
amongst the descendants of Genghis Khan.
Right, the very thing he had tried to prevent.
The very thing.
The seeds of division were sown. I mean,
They were.
did this infighting ultimately lead to the decline of the Mongol Empire?
It played a significant role.
Go.
After a decade of power struggles, a grandson of Genghis Khan, Kublai Khan,
Yep.
emerged as the new Great Khan.
Okay.
However, his claim was contested by his brother, Arik.
Oh.
Another brotherly feud.
Well, history does have a way of repeating itself.
It really is.
This dispute erupted into a civil war, a conflict that would have devastating consequences for the Mongol Empire.
Okay.
Kublai, who had spent much of his life immersed in Chinese culture and politics, drew on the resources of northern China to defeat Arikbok.
Okay.
But the victory came at a terrible cost.
Oh.
Karakorum, the symbol of Mongol unity and ambition, was sacked and plundered.
What a tragic end for such a magnificent city.
A symbolic blow to the heart of the empire.
Yeah.
Kublai Khan, having secured his position as Great Khan, turned his attention to China,
Okay.
where he established the Yuan dynasty, becoming the first Mongol emperor of China in 1279.
So the Mongols, once nomadic warriors of the steppes, became rulers of one of the world's oldest and most sophisticated civilizations.
Yeah.
I mean, how did Kublai Khan balance his Mongol heritage with the realities of ruling China?
He walked a delicate tightrope.
He adopted Chinese court rituals, promoted Confucianism, and oversaw this period of economic prosperity and cultural flourishing.
Okay.
But he also faced significant challenges.
Oh.
He launched these ambitious but ultimately unsuccessful invasions of Vietnam and Japan.
Right, those island nations proved to be a formidable challenge,
We did.
especially for an empire that had built its reputation on land-based warfare.
Absolutely.
And despite his efforts to appease his Chinese subjects, Kublai Khan and his successors were always seen as outsiders.
Yeah.
Foreign invaders ruling over a resentful population.
It's almost inevitable that this resentment would eventually boil over.
And it did.
It did. Internal strife, corruption, economic mismanagement, and the devastating impact of the Black Death, a pandemic that swept through Asia in the mid-14th century, weakened the Yuan dynasty.
Right.
Rebellions erupted, fueled by anger towards Mongol rule and the hardships caused by the plague.
So the stage was set for the end of Mongol rule in China.
In 1368, a peasant leader named Zhu Yuansong led a successful rebellion, toppling the Yuan dynasty and establishing the Ming dynasty, a new era for China.
Right.
The Mongol Empire, fragmented and weakened, continued to exist in various forms for several more centuries.
Right.
But its era of world-dominating power had come to an end.
What an incredible story.
It is.
From the windswept steppes of Mongolia to the imperial palaces of China,
Great.
the Mongols left an indelible mark on history.
They did.
What enduring legacies did this once nomadic people leave behind?
I mean, their impact was profound and multifaceted.
Right.
They reshaped political boundaries, they facilitated trade and cultural exchange across Eurasia.
Right.
They even contributed to the spread of technologies like gunpowder.
Right.
Their conquests were often brutal and devastating.
Yeah.
But they also ushered in this period of relative peace and stability known as the Pax Mongolica,
Right.
which facilitated the flow of goods, ideas, and people across vast distances.
Their story is a reminder of the interconnectedness of human history.
It is.
How a seemingly insignificant event in a remote corner of the world can trigger a chain reaction that impacts the lives of millions.
Yeah, it's a story of ambition, brutality, resilience, and adaptation.
It is.
And it's a story that continues to fascinate and inspire awe, centuries later.
It does. Well, thank you for joining us on this epic journey through Mongol history.
Of course.
Please like and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating explorations of the past.
Yeah, and let us know in the comments which historical figures or events you'd like us to delve into next.